Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Effing with the Ineffable. I am Zoe.
And I am, as usual, Smokey P.
And this is our first episode in, I think, 2 weeks, actually.
It's been a little bit.
Because we went to the beach, which was really nice in some ways.
Yeah. Got a little samey after a while. Just waves coming in, one after another.
No, actually, I had a good time at the beach. It was just, I don't know. Vacation is, you just get off schedule and I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little disruptive. It is. And while I was gone, all my garden seemed to suffer from a lack of watering, and so I had to pick all my squash. I don't know. I'm trying to sort them out. How do you sort out squash? They've got different things, colors, shapes, and then
texture,
skin textures. There's patterns on some of them. Like this one's got a pattern.
He literally has like probably 100 squash over here, I would guess. Like
I'm guessing 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
One more.
Right next to us, we're in the squash cellar right now, apparently.
Yeah, and some of them are nicely packer colored. Let's see, where's a good packer? This is a good packer. Looks like it's green dipped in yellow. I don't know what kind these are. This is kind of smooth skin with a few lumps on it. I don't know if that.
All of these just grow randomly in his garden.
All volunteers.
He doesn't plant any of this, so he just gets oodles of squash.
I did plant the pumpkin. I got a big pumpkin. I won't show you that.
But yeah, so his garden
so we were
off while we were gone.
Yeah, so we were at the beach.
And yeah, I'm quite nauseous today because we finally announced publicly that we're having another baby. So I've been nauseous.
You are?
I've been nauseous for like the last, I don't know, 20 episodes or something, but maybe not that many, but for a while now.
The first few of those episodes was mainly just because Smokey P.
So yeah, that's exciting, but it's I don't know why today I'm feeling so sick. I've been better because now I'm like well into my second trimester, but anyway, what else has been going on? We've just had lots of like, we literally had an electrician, a well guy, and a plumber like all in the same day basically come to our house. I'm learning a lot about wells and taking care of wells.
Good.
How often do you clean out your pressure tank?
Never. I've never cleaned out my pressure tank.
You should do it because you know how when you are running water upstairs and then you're running water in the sink, it's really low pressure. It probably wouldn't do that if you would clean out your pressure tank.
Wow.
You're supposed to do it once a year, and it's really easy. You can do it yourself.
You'll have to show me how to do it later.
I don't know where your pressure tank is, but if we can,
it's right over there.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
If we can figure it out.
Joe Biden's basement, right back that way.
So what we're learning is,
right behind Hunter and the.
Doing. Oh.
Did you hear about?
Yes. Anyway.
What a goof! Oh, he's like the Bill. For those of you who remember Billy Carter, Jimmy Carter's flaky brother, flaky redneck, maybe. I don't know what he was. He was an embarrassment.
Well, the only I'm learning about home ownership, and the only advice I have for you is to maintain things before they get broken, because
an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah, the people who owned the house before us. So our house is pretty new. We only had 2 owners before this, but we think that those 2 owners probably didn't do much of anything
right?
to prevent things from happening. Which luckily it didn't have much time to do damage because our house is only a couple years old. But still things that you're supposed to do once or twice a year, if you don't do them for 3 or 4 years, you start having a lot of problems.
You probably don't have to flush out your septic yet.
Not yet. That's like every 3 to 5
Wait
years.
till you get to that. That's fun.
Have you done that before?
I did it by hand. Probably it's a good thing they contract out.
You did not. Anyway, so that's my advice is maintain things because
Used a red Solo cup, just scooped it out.
oh stop.
it.
I already said I'm not feeling good. Anyway, so that's been my life, is just getting our home in order, and we start our school year on Monday.
What's your school called?
Porcupine Academy.
Porcupine Academy.
And that was the other thing I was going to say is
it porcupine or porcupine?
Porcupine.
Okay, that's good.
But we usually pronounce it porcupine, right?
Porcupine. Porcupine.
The other, I was going to say, so we missed one episode because of Myrtle Beach, and then we missed another one because the school year is starting again and all my siblings are moving.
Yeah.
And last week we were helping my cousin move.
Yeah.
We were helping him move to him and my
Greensboro.
sister are sharing a house.
Yep.
With another person. So they're starting their school year, and then later today my dad and brother are going to a new place on the coast. I've never been there before, but that's where my brother is starting school.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting too. So anyway, it's back to school all around. So that's mainly what I've been doing this week is we got the last shipment of our furniture, and we've been getting our homeschool room together, which is really fun and exciting.
And your sister, your next in line sister, got a job with benefits. She had the task of figuring out, okay, which tier of health insurance am I going to choose to purchase here? It's like, well, that's a tough question.
Yeah, luckily I've
She's
never
pretty
really
high
had to do
maintenance.
that.
She probably needs one of the higher, the more expensive.
Yeah, we've always just picked the
lowest,
whatever we can get, because
you guys have never had real benefits, have you?
No, we've never had a job with benefits.
Yeah.
And also I avoid the doctor like the plague. So we don't really use our,
see, now you have to change that phrase now, because avoiding like the plague, people aren't avoiding the plague anymore. People are courting COVID.
I mean,
they're going without vaccine.
Well, that's another reason to avoid the doctors, because a lot of people who are going to the doctor are sick or expected that they're sick.
That's what my father, the doctor, always said. He said, hospitals suck. It's full of sick people.
I know. That's why I don't. That's why like giving birth in a hospital sucks, because it's like you're there with people who are literally like on death's door. And
have flesh-eating bacterial infections and stuff.
Yeah, I think Jim.
It's like, hi, pleased to meet you. What are you in for?
Yeah.
Flesh-eating bacteria. Oh, okay, we're good.
Like Jim.
Pleased to meet you. Oh, I just remembered I had something to do 20 feet away from you.
I think Jim Gaffigan has like 5 or 6 kids, and his wife has had a home birth every time. And he says like, we do it because my wife doesn't want to give birth in a robe that someone just died in that morning. Like, it's true. Like, hospitals are places for sick people. And when you're giving birth, you're not sick. Birth is not a disease. It's a normal physiological process. And for almost all of time, most people gave birth at home. Until
really what, the 50s maybe?
Early 1900s, like before the 50s, but it was more like, because grandpa was born at home.
Yeah.
In the 30s.
Right.
So I would say somewhere around the mid 40s probably was when it started becoming normal to like go to the hospital to give birth.
Right.
Which obviously is good in a way, because like people did die in childbirth and
stuff. It probably reduced maternal and infant mortality, perinatal mortality issues.
But like at the same time, like we do have high rates of issues with this is probably boring for a lot of people, but it's something that I think about a lot. We like the healthcare system.
Nothing has kept us from being boring so far. The
healthcare system in the US isn't great about like birth outcomes and stuff. I think a lot of the reason is because we do have a hyper medicalized view of birth in general and feel like it is an emergency, it's a disease, it's a problem that we need to treat. Whereas
rather than a process to be facilitated and supported.
And like that's why I like going to midwives in general, because midwives in general have more of a view that like birth is something where we just need to get out of the way. And if there's a complication, we need to intervene. But as long as there's no complications, we just need to get out of the way and not interfere.
Plus, I like to use the word midwifery. Just something about that. I just like that. It tickles me.
So, yeah. Anyway.
And doula is kind of a cool word, too.
Yeah.
Doula. Midwifery. Midwifery sounds like Shakespeare or something.
Yeah, it is.
Out, knave. You've practiced your midwifery for too long. Now you must be hoisted on your own petard.
All right.
Yeah, we obviously don't have any topics that we're rushing toward today.
The only other thing is it's my mom's birthday today.
It is.
Happy birthday. She's probably
Friday the 13th. This is her lucky day too.
Yeah.
She wishes she could be at the casino flushing money down their toilets, but
she's at the vet.
She has to be flushing money down
their toilet. No, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully their dog is like me, throwing up a lot today. So hopefully at least mine has a known cause. Hopefully he'll figure it out and get better.
Or die quickly.
Or cheaply, at least.
One or the other, yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah, any other stuff, or should we get into it? We
should get into it.
All right. Did you want to? So we both read something like 2 weeks ago about the Bonum. Did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, because I think it had to do with our last episode. I remember us talking about different things. And for some reason it stuck in my mind. It's like, oh yeah, I wanted to say that. I think, were we talking about Latin then? Were we talking about?
Was our last one the Latin Mass?
Was it? Might have been.
Maybe it was 2 weeks ago or 2 episodes ago, but we definitely talked about that very recently.
Yeah, we talked about Latin.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about Latin, and I was thinking one of the cool things about Latin is that a lot of the words, how they were used originally, there's been a lot of changes and a lot of, just even the changes in the English use of different words since then. But the word bonum, which is sometimes translated as good, sometimes translated as blessed, sometimes translated as happy. It's just an interesting word in that all those things are kind of conflated. There was an understanding that to be good is to be blessed. You have to be good in order to be able to take advantage of blessing. Blessing falls like the rain from heaven, the tender mercies that falleth upon the good and the bad. But only the good are able to use it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like that one story that you like, that C.S. Lewis story, the Great Divorce, where some people are able to take the benefit of experience and providence and grow from it, and some people are not. and it seems like there's a divide there. Is that not the Great Divorce? Is that not kind of the theme?
It's definitely like, yeah, there, like everybody's experiencing very similar things, but it's like the people who are able to, like the very first part of the Great Divorce. So the Great Divorce is about basically what happens after you die. The Great Divorce is between heaven and hell, and but he talks about like basically like everyone's getting on a bus and or a train or whatever, and they're all going to like somewhere, and you know, some people like the main guy is just kind of like along for the ride. He doesn't really know what's going on. But then there's like people who are like complaining about the bus and the train, and they're like, I want to get off. I don't want to be on here anymore. So they just like can't just like ride it out and see what's happening. So they get off, but then like they don't get to experience like the joy at the end. And there's lots of things that happen along the way where basically people are just dropping out of the journey.
Straight is the gate, narrow the way.
Yeah.
The road to perdition is broad and well paved.
It makes
with good
me,
intentions.
It makes me think too, like it's just thinking about like gratitude and being great, having a heart of gratitude, and that's like how like so dependent. Our happiness in this life is so dependent on our ability to be grateful for things. Like I've, you know, it's just weird. I've been struggling a lot for some reason, like since we moved into our house, to be like I'm someone who, as soon as a problem arises, I want to just take care of it and fix it and like move on. And we've had like these like issues with our water and whatever. And like truly our house is not like a fixer upper. It's a nice house. And I love I really like my house a lot.
Good.
But it's hard to like be grateful when like there's issues that we're trying to get fixed, and it seems like they're fixed for a while and then they are not fixed, and it's like we're just trying. It's hard to be grateful, and it's hard to not be like, oh, this
focused
stupid
on trouble
house.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
When like everything else is working fine, but it's like this one little issue that just like sticks in my mind. But I don't know. It's just I'm trying to practice more gratitude of like of just seeing what a blessing it is to have like running water in my house. And it's like it is true that like once you start focusing on that, that's how you like focusing on your blessings is how you become happy. And that's like going back to the Bonum thing. It's like,
yeah, I was talking this week with the inmates and talking about, one of them said, I just want to be filthy rich. You know, I just want to have enough money to be able to do all the things I want to do, and to be able to take care of people that I don't even know who need things. It's like, well, that's a nice intention, but the best way to be rich is to be happy with what you have.
yeah.
If you're happy with what you have, you're rich already. You're as rich as you're gonna be. It's like that Hungry Heart song that you know that song?
Yeah.
Everybody's got a hungry heart. The poor man wants to be rich. The rich man wants to be king. And the king ain't satisfied till he owns everything. And that's, you know, if you've got that acquisitive, hungry, never satisfied outlook, you're never satisfied.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, you've set yourself up to never be happy with what you have. There's never going to be enough. You know, if you've got 5 houses, you want another one.
Yeah.
You know, if you own a small island, you want a bigger island. You know, but it's whatever. You're never going to have enough. And that's why it goes back to that Bonum, that happy is the Beatitudes.
I was just going to bring up the Beatitudes.
Talk about, you know, Jesus said, you know who's really happy? You know who's really blessed? People who cry about how terrible things are. People who are persecuted for being good. Those are happy people. Those are people who are really going to have something good happen. Something good is going to come out of this. They're becoming good. They're becoming more and more like God all the time. And it's like that part where the guy comes up to Jesus and says, good teacher, what do I need to do to be perfect? And Jesus says, only God is good. But if you really want to be perfect, sell all your stuff and give it to the poor. It's like, oh, I didn't want to hear that.
Like he went away sad.
He went away sad. He had
And
a lot of stuff and he wanted to keep his stuff.
Yeah.
And his stuff was more important than being happy.
There's a book called Happy Are You Poor, which has been on my shelf for many years and I still haven't read it. I'm going to read it eventually. But it's basically about like how like simplicity and minimalism is the key to like Christian joy in life. Like if you start just getting in that rat race of like wanting to amass things, which luckily, like, I don't really have that so much. I don't really like want to have a bunch of stuff. I don't really have a desire to have a bunch of things. It's mainly just like I want my house to be nice and I want like my, How
nice is nice enough? It's already nice.
Exactly.
It's already nice enough. And it's like how God treats us. He loves us just the way we are. But he loves us enough to keep making us better.
Yeah.
You love your house just the way it is. But
you
love it enough to keep making it better and keep maintaining it.
Yeah. And truly, it's not like I want my house to be a mansion. I just want to take care of it the best I can. I want to be a good steward of what I have. I don't know. I have more, it's just making me think about the marriage thing. Do you want to talk about the marriage thing?
Sure.
So it's weird because talking about C.S. Lewis and talking about Latin, it made me think of, so it was actually sorry, let me turn this off. It's my 8th anniversary this week. It was my 8th anniversary this week. And my dad sent me this article about marriage in the US, which I will link below.
Marriage.
I'm trying to bring it up. It was a pretty the article was mainly just like statistics. It wasn't a lot of like editorializing.
Oh yeah, it was
basically,
it wasn't called like the death of marriage.
The end of marriage in America?
The end of marriage in America, yeah.
So it's saying that basically marriage rates are at a historic low for the country. And it talked about, it just gave all these different statistics.
And some of the factors that were involved in that. Some of the socioeconomic factors especially.
That was the part that I thought was interesting because it's definitely saying that basically it says 70 years ago, a large majority of US households, approximately 80%, were made up of married couples. But now in 2020, it's basically like 49%. Mm-hmm. Some of the major factors have been female education and labor force participation.
See, that was a mistake.
I think that is not true. I don't think that that's really like the biggest factor.
The reason.
Then they go on to say women's economic independence, gender equality, like those are the 3 that they say at the beginning, but then they say like American attitudes about childbearing and marriage have also changed markedly.
That's it.
And talking about other factors are declining religious adherence to marriage, public disenchantment with marriage, and more recently unstable jobs and strained finances. And one thing that I don't think they really mention is just the welfare state of the US. They talk about the single motherhood rate, but they don't really talk about the fact that the welfare state is in large part a reason why that has been created.
Enables that single motherhood.
Yeah.
And single motherhood basically means deadbeat fatherhood.
Yeah. Yeah. Being able to.
Or, just a lack of a reason to have a stable partnership.
Yeah.
In the raising of children.
A lack of a motivation, because a huge part of the motivation 100 years ago was if 2 people didn't work together to raise a kid, that kid was probably not going to do very well. because they weren't going to have any money.
Isn't that still true though?
It is still true, but like they weren't going to have any money to raise the kid, and they weren't going to be able to like be around to raise the kid, right?
Yeah, there weren't going to be resources, but
now like there's at least money. If you have a kid and you're poor and you're a single mom, the government will at least just pay you to like raise your kid.
Yeah.
But
is anybody really starving in America? Is anybody, I mean, does anybody really not have access to any food? I mean, there's food banks and food kitchens and food everywhere. If you want some squash, if you're watching, first person gets to take home a squash. Second person has to take 3.
Yeah. First 100 people to show up get a squash.
If you're running out of food in America, you're just not trying very hard, or you've got other problems that are causing you to be unable to access the system. It's not a matter of resources, you know.
Yeah.
The back 100 years ago, it probably was resources that were as big a factor as anything.
Yeah.
You know, Hansel and Gretel, they didn't have enough food, so the stepmom said, you know, your kids got to go.
Yeah.
We're going to go take them out in the woods and just let them die. It's like, okay, well, maybe that happened back then.
Yeah.
Kids don't die because people need food anymore.
I mean, but
kids
food...
die because people are selfish, and people are addicted, and people are mentally ill, and people are unwilling to do the work of making accommodations in their life to have other people. They're selfish, they're self-centered, and they won't do what it takes to have other people in their life. Now, you know, it still takes a village to raise a child. It still takes, especially a man and a woman, I think, you know, to raise a child, or at least 2 people who can take those roles on and who can help socialize the child to be able to deal with the realities of just being a person in the world, and just being able to live with other people and being able to learn how to love. If all you're seeing is maternal love toward the child and the other children, you're not getting the full exposure to what people need to learn about the world, and what people need to learn about. You can unplug that top. What people need to learn about getting along, and what people need to learn about what love is, and who God is, and you know, the reflection of, you know, children are brought about through love, for love, from love, to love, you know, by God, with our cooperation. If they don't see that cooperation in real life, if they don't see people working together to make things better for everyone, where are they ever going to learn that?
Well, and also, like, so 2 things. First of all, like, God is love in the sense that love requires a relationship, mm-hmm. right? Like, you can't experience God alone. You can't experience God through one individual without there has to be a lover and a beloved person. So that truly is the essence of God, is a loving relationship. And
a mirror on the wall isn't gonna do it.
Yeah.
Might tell you that you're the fairest, but you're only the fairest in the room.
Yeah. But also, sorry, what was I gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say, another reason why you kind of almost need two people to raise a kid is because raising children is really hard, and it's really exhausting, and like people go through times in their life where they have struggles, and in that time, like, you need somebody else to pick up the slack. Like right now, when I'm super nauseous and like I get to the end of the night and I'm just like, I cannot put you to bed. I'm too tired. I need to go to bed. Like, then my husband steps in and like takes care of the kids. And then there's times where like he's really struggling, like, or even just like he was studying for the bar exam and going to law school. And it's like he had a lot less time to devote to our kids. And it's like, yes, you can outsource that to like a daycare. You can
Right.
outsource that to a nanny.
Right.
But like those people
Or
are
an
not,
orphanage, whatever.
but like those people aren't gonna like love your kid in the same way that you love them. And that's coming from somebody who was a nanny. And like I cared about the kids that I nannied for, but I didn't care about them the same way that I care about my own kids. And I didn't care about them the same way that their parents cared about them. And so like there is a deprivation there. Like, yeah, it's still better than nothing. Like, it's still, you can do it. You can raise a kid alone with the
But
help
it's
of
not
like,
optimal.
but yeah, but it's obviously not the best. Like, just,
And I'm trying to make the distinction that it's not just the practical day by day
yeah,
material and mechanical operations that go into taking care of a family and a house. That stuff is important and needs to be done. And a lot of times we get wrapped up in that. But the most important thing, the best way that you can show love to your child is to show love to your spouse. Show them how to love another person. Teach them how to love in this world, because so many people are incapable of love. And I think a big part of that is single parenthood. Single parenthood, I'm sure those mothers mean the best for their children. But if they really wanted the best for their children, they would find a spouse who can help them and who they can model a good, healthy life with.
well, and let's not put it all on the mom. Because a lot of times the mom is trying to make it work and the dad is just not interested. Like,
those moms need to be more picky.
Okay, but it takes two. Like, I am saying, like,
it does take two, yeah.
Like, yeah, sometimes you make a bad choice and you get in a relationship with somebody who's not ideal.
Yeah.
Like,
but why are so many people making so many bad choices? That begs the question, why are so many people making so many bad choices now? When single motherhood back in the day was much less heard of, now it's the norm.
Yeah.
I think even for, it's been the norm in African American families for decades now. It's less the norm in Asian Americans and Hispanic Americans, but it's becoming more the norm. I think it might be more, is it 50% now of white children who are born to single parent?
It was somewhere in here. I'm trying to find it.
It's pretty close. Why has that taken place? It's not because of women being educated. Most of the times these single mothers are not educated women. I don't think.
It said
there's some of them that are educated, and some of them, I think some of them have had to get education and have had to join the workforce because they don't have a stable marriage. Why is there not a stable marriage? People have forgotten what marriage is supposed to be. They don't know what marriage is supposed to be. They think of it as, oh, this is a chance for me to have half of my half of my burden's taken. No, your burdens are doubled. Sorry.
I think even more than that, so many people view marriage just as like, we'll just keep doing the same thing we're doing because we're cohabitating, and we'll just have a big party and whatever. It's not going to change anything.
Right.
We've had multiple friends who've gotten married who've said, we don't think marriage changes anything. We just wanted to like have a big party with our friends.
Right.
We've had multiple of our friends say that sentiment.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's disturbing. But
yeah.
It does
That's
say,
not a good basis for a marriage.
yeah.
People have lost the understanding of what is the basis for marriage.
But once again, I just don't like the idea that it's like all on the woman. I think it's also a huge issue of like fathers just feeling like they don't need to be around.
Yeah.
I know people who've like been in a marriage who've been trying to make it work, and the dad just leaves because he has found something better.
Yeah.
Or he just doesn't want to do it anymore.
He doesn't want to grow up.
And he feels like I don't have to. There's no social pressure on me. Like so many people now don't view it as like this huge stigma to get divorced. So it's like, why don't I just do it?
So that begs the question, why do people connect in the first place?
Hold on, let me
is
just
it out
say,
of love or is it out of lust? If it's out of lust, it's almost surely going to be temporary and painful. It's gonna have bad fruit. It's gonna bear bad fruit because lust is a sin.
Yeah.
It's the fruits of sin are death.
It says the proportion of U.S. births to unmarried mothers is about 40% in 2020. Oh, like through all demographics, which is double the percentage in 1980. It also says in 2006, it's weird how fast this changed. In 2006, about half of U.S. adults said it was very important for couples having children together to legally marry. By 2020, that proportion had fallen to 29%.
Only 30% people feel like it's important.
In 14
and I wonder
years,
how many of those people are actually married. They're married, but they feel like, I'm married, but it's really not that important.
Well, it's like, they always say that, like, I think Ben Shapiro makes the point that, like, Democrats, the elite, they always vote like, oh, we can't expect people to like be together and be married and all this stuff. But when you look at the way they live like conservatives in the sense that they get married before they have kids. This is like the educated, like liberal elite. Right. Like most of them say like that stuff's not important, but they do it. They live it out.
Right.
And I think part of that is because
successful people are married, they work, they have an education, they pay their bills, they follow the law, and people who say that stuff is not important, it's diabolical.
Or they at least act like we can't expect other people to live that way when they in themselves live that way.
It's sowing the seeds of destruction in other people's lives. That's what it is. And that's been I guess that's been part of the socialist playbook for a lot of years. Is the first thing you have to do is destroy the family. First thing you have to do is undermine family ties. If you can undermine family ties, then people are going to need the government, and people are going to look to the government as being the source of their security and the source of the meaning in their life and the power in their life. The degree to which they are engaged with the government is the degree to which they are able to access the important things of life. And if that's, and that does seem to be more and more the case. People have become more and more partisan and less family oriented.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong, but do you think the first step is undermining the family, or do you think the first step is undermining religious values?
Well, I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah. I think taking away people's dependence on God and love of God, then like quickly family ties are gonna probably fall away, or at least like a lot of that social pressure to remain married or whatever. And then when you have no God and no family, it's like, who are you going to worship besides, or who are you going to
The
rely
president.
on?
Gotta
Yeah.
have the president. I need a president who can
But I want to say,
send me checks.
I want to say
Thank
something.
you, Joe Biden, for my stimulus money.
So obviously that's a lot of like negativity about like the current day state of marriage, but I just thought it was interesting, like when
It's a diagnosis. They're saying
Yeah.
they're saying that it seems like marriages are dying off. It's true. Marriages are dying off. Why that is, hopefully we've talked a little bit about that. I really think the socioeconomic factors have been overstated, and the other things, the other cultural aspects of it, just the loss of even knowing what marriage is. I mean, marriage has become, people have tried to have these marriage definition acts, you know.
Mhm.
Obama at one time said marriage is between a man and a woman. Then he reversed that, said, oh, marriage is between any two consenting adults or whatever. We can't be prejudiced about that. It's like, well, that's what is marriage intended for? And if those intentions can be met outside of marriage, or those intentions are invalid in the first place, then marriage becomes invalid. All right, that seems to be what happened.
Yeah, I have like, I don't know, I have some thoughts on like the biological, like evolutionary basis for marriage. I do feel like
The natural law.
I feel like biology drives us to marriage in a way. I mean, like obviously we also have drives to
It drives
like,
us to reproduction for sure.
yeah. But like even like there are, you know, it's interesting how people say like the 7-year itch or whatever, when people like are together for 7 years and then they like lose interest or whatever. There's actually like biological evidence that you have a stronger emotional bond with somebody for about 7 years, usually because in like nomadic times, or you know, like ancient times, like children were viewed as like completely incapable of taking care of themselves until they were about 7 years old, and biologically after age 7 they were basically able to fend for themselves, or at least be able to only be with one parent.
Right.
And so parents have a biological drive to be together for 7 years, basically it seems like for the good of the child.
Yes.
For the good of children.
It used to be so. It seems like that's been overridden by selfishness.
Well, think about it too. A lot of people are together for a long time before they get married. This is assuming like the time that you fall in love with somebody until the time that you start losing interest is 7 years. How many people get married within, I mean, like the rates that people are also, they talk about that in the article, people are also delaying marriage longer and longer. And people say, oh, we'll just like be together, we'll like, you know, finish school, we'll start our careers, we'll just be together for a while, and then maybe we'll think about marriage, like whatever. Like people are together for like 5 to 7 years before they even get married. So of course then like, yeah, that like we're suppressing that biological bond,
that attachment warranty.
Yeah, I mean,
wears
like,
out.
I'm not saying that that's like a good thing, that you should just like stop being together after 7 years, or even that you necessarily are going to start losing interest in each other. My husband and I have been together. It's likely that you will. Yeah, I mean, everybody goes through periods, good and bad periods. My husband and I have been together for 8 years now, and we only got married like 9 months after we really like met. Mm-hmm. So what, like basically 9 years? But I feel like we're a lot happier and stronger in our marriage now than we were at varying points.
And you have a religious commitment to marriage.
Yeah.
You don't, a lot of people do not. a lot of people get married and they feel like if it's not working for me, I can just dispose of it like anything else. Like, if my whole house water filter starts to crap out on me, I'm just gonna get a new one and that's it. I'll just okay. Then people treat their spouses like that.
Well, and this is exactly what I wanted to bring up. So on our anniversary, I was reflecting. It's interesting because I'm catching up from several months ago on Bible in a Year with Father Mike.
Oh yeah.
And right now I'm
probably a month behind.
Right now I'm several months behind, but right now I'm listening to 1 Samuel, where David and Jonathan.
Oh, I'm way past that.
I know. Well, that's fine, but it's interesting because David and
I'm better than you are.
David and Jonathan are like, they have this love for each other, right?
This true friendship.
Yeah, this philia love. And he talked about the four, which is interesting because not only we were talking about Latin and C.S. Lewis, but now I'm going to talk about Greek and C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis wrote The Four Loves, which is about the four types of love in the Greek thought, which was, there was storge was like the love of desire, which is basically
I love pizza.
Yeah, I love pizza. I love my house.
I love pudding.
I love the smell of fresh cut grass. Whatever.
I love
like
little baby ducks.
Yeah,
old
like
pickup trucks.
So that's storge, which like basically, everybody experiences that. Even my children say like, oh, I love this movie, or I love this food, whatever. Right. Okay, then there's eros, the love of.
There's the love of things.
Yeah, it's basically the love of attachment, I think he said. And I don't have all my like notes in my Bible, but whatever. Storge is like the most basic. Yeah. Then there's
just basic pleasure.
There's eros, which is like the love of desire, which is romantic love, basically. It's like it actually is interesting because eros drives you to give of yourself, but it can also be distorted in that you can use eros to want to take from other people, and that's
to use people.
So many people have a love that's just based on eros or storge or storge.
Basically lust.
I feel like so many
and appetites.
Yeah, a lot of people have a love that's a marriage that's based on eros, which eros is eros can be good in the sense that eros, it does drive you to want to give of yourself.
It initiates a lot of stuff. But it can't sustain a lot of stuff.
But it's easily distorted. That's the problem with eros, is that it's easily distorted. And if you look at the love that God has for us, he actually has all four loves combined, really. He has the perfect love for us. And when he has eros for us, he wants to give of himself to us, in the sense that he gave his only son that we might have eternal life, right? That is eros, that giving of himself to us. Then there's philia, which I think is really interesting. Philia is like a friendship love, but it's based on a common set of values, right?
It's platonic.
It's friendship. It's true friendship that's based on a common goal. That's what David and Jonathan had, because they both loved the Lord and wanted to serve the Lord, and they just had this like friendship bond, this really strong bond because of it.
Fellowship.
Yeah, and C.S. Lewis said, "It's the least." I actually have a quote. Let me read it real quick. I do think that like if more people had love in their life that was based on common values and common things that you're striving toward, like that is a stronger bond than just eros. Like you're gonna have, and I think that like, so okay.
Well, like a common bond of being interested in raising children together.
Yeah, or like my husband.
I have an interest in our child. You have an interest in our child. Hey, let's work together on raising our child.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I mean, it's kind of built right into the system, but a lot of people override the system.
And even before we had children, my husband and I knew, like, we both wanted to love God. Like we both did want to love and serve God, and we wanted to build a family based on like true, good, beautiful values. So Lewis describes friendship, or this philia love, as the least biological, organic, instinctive, gregarious, and necessary, the least natural of loves. True friendship is not biologically derived, but a freely chosen gift between people. For this reason, it's the most rare, and most people experience it maybe once or twice in their life.
And we're back.
Okay, we got interrupted. I don't remember exactly where I was talking about this.
About philia.
Yeah, but we were okay. So it's really rare to experience this true friendship because it's not a biologically derived thing. It's not that, like, I feel like eros is more of that, like, when you're attracted to somebody and you want to like procreate with them, that's like a biologically derived thing. And I feel like that's more of that eros. But when we have true friendship, it's not gonna like necessarily propel you to reproduce with this person, because obviously friendship can be between, like, but for David and Jonathan, they didn't have like a romantic relationship. They were just truly sure? Well, that's what my father Mike was saying in the podcast. He's like, we hear that two men love each other and we think like, ooh, that's weird or whatever.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, but like for the Greeks especially, philia was like one of the highest forms. Like he said to the ancients, friendship seemed the happiest and most fully human of all loves, the crown of life in the school of virtue. The modern world in comparison ignores it.
Yes.
And that's exactly, like, I just feel grateful that my husband and I do feel like we had a relationship based on values before we got married, and that was a lot of what drove us to get married.
And you had a friendship.
Yeah, I mean, we had like a strong attraction to each other, but we had a friendship even before that. And yeah, I'm just like happy that I have that, because I know that not everybody has that, clearly. And like, I wish that more people would have a friendship first that then turns into, or at least have
That's always good advice. Be friends first and see how well things work out, and take things really slowly. Trust takes time to develop, and understanding of each other takes time to develop. And when you're young, you're changing, and you might be changing in different directions at a point when you're connecting and feeling like, oh, we have so much in common. Well, not for long. Maybe you're gonna have less and less in common if somebody is heading toward in this direction in their life. They have these values and these goals, and the other person has these values and these goals. It's like La La Land.
Yeah, I don't know. My husband
in La La Land, they seem to have a real affection for each other, even though they initially like kind of maybe resisted it or something, or were annoyed by each other. But even at the end, there was still a love you could sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they accepted that there was just differences that were going to keep them from being able to have a partnership love. So they still had somewhat of an erotic love, but somewhat of a philia too.
I would disagree with the advice to take things slowly. I think that like a reason that my husband and I were successful is because we got engaged really fast.
You got married very fast.
And it wasn't because we got married quickly because we like had this like lustful eros desire to get married. It's because we wanted to start a family. Like we wanted to like create a bond and start like becoming a family. And even though like it's not that we didn't want to have kids right away, but we were like, I was in college, so we thought it was probably best to wait. Although, like, looking back, I don't necessarily think that would have been the best thing to do now. But like we wanted to just like start that bond and be together and grow towards something. And like my husband and I have different, like, we are not the same people that we were when we got married. Like, we've gone in different directions, but the point is, like, you're always going to be hopefully changing throughout your life. Like, if you're not changing, you're dying, right? Like,
it's like I told the guys the other day, a shark needs to keep swimming.
Yeah.
It needs to keep moving forward, otherwise it dies. That's the same thing with you guys. You need to keep growing. You need to keep becoming the person you want to become. Because if you just start to drift, you will be drifted into the filtration tank.
Exactly. And I think that that's the same thing in marriage. A lot of people get married and then they're just like, all right, now I'm just set forever. It's like, no, the point is to always striving towards sainthood. That's our goal.
That's the goal. That's the part that's lost.
But the point is, you have to have a common value system and a common goal. So my husband and I, yes, we got married very quickly, but we knew that we wanted to strive towards sainthood, both of us. And so as long as we are really striving for that, I think that we are going to help each other walk along the path together. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Anyway.
And that was in that article about good too. Was said when you say that your kids are good, what you mean is that they're striving for goodness.
Yeah.
You don't mean that they've accomplished perfection in any way, like that they're absolutely holy little saints, but they're trying to be good. They strive for goodness.
And that's why a lot of people with like parenting advice, they'll say, you shouldn't say to your kid, wow, you are such a good artist, or you're so creative, or whatever. You should be like, you did a really creative thing, like, so that they don't think like, this is what I am and I can just stop. Like, I'm just a creative person, and so I don't have to work on it. It's like, wow, you did a really creative thing. You should try to like develop that skill. Like, you should encourage your kids to not be satisfied,
to stay hungry.
Yeah, like, but toward goodness, toward good things.
Hunger
like
for goodness.
And it's hard to not be like, you're always doing that. Like, to say to your kids, like, you're always like you're always jumping off of things and too rough with things. Like, you're always doing this or whatever, and criticizing in that way. Instead, like, it is harder to be like, hey, you need to focus this moment on choosing a better thing. And because you don't want your kid to just feel like, okay, I'm a bad person. Like, because you want your kid to be able to strive toward goodness.
I want my kids to recognize that they're bad people.
I want them to recognize they're making a bad choice in the moment, and they have the capacity to make a better choice.
I want them to know that they're prone to badness. They're prone to badness, which is all right. I'm prone to badness too.
I mean, everyone is.
Everyone is.
But
and some of the things that I always say to my kids are, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And yeah.
Well, I think that,
and I know you didn't mean to, but you didn't mean not to.
Yeah. Well, we've been going for a while. I think we should probably stop. We had another thing to talk about, Cicero. But
well, we can get to Cicero.
We'll talk about Cicero.
Cicero is what he is.
Yeah, he's not changing much these days. So, yeah, anyway, I hope that
Cicero is perfected. He has become what he has become.
I hope that this was interesting, insightful, helpful, not depressing about the state of marriage, and giving you hope, at least.
Well, it's distressing, but I mean, how does that change? One marriage at a time.
Yeah, and like,
it's eroded one marriage at a time. Just like climate change is changing a couple degrees every year, and maybe raising up a couple inches on the shoreline. Same thing with the erosion of marriage. It's a few marriages here at the margins that have fallen off. People who don't recognize the value of marriage, and people who don't recognize the great purpose of marriage. Marriage is not to fulfill the individuals within the marriage.
Yeah.
If that's what you're looking for, you need to go to a grocery store. The deal is much clearer there. If you want pudding, you buy pudding. You know, if you get married in order for somebody to be able to make you pudding all the time, you're going to be sorely distant. I gotta say, you're gonna be sorely disappointed. Because after a while they say,
make your own damn pudding.
and why are you eating so much pudding? You're a fat person.
Have some broccoli.
Stop.
Yeah, I think
Have a salad.
I think too, like, but aside from obviously like working on your own marriage is important, but also raising your kids to understand like the values that you care about and the values that that you want them to care about. And I also like I've been trying to more consistently pray for my kids every day, and if they are called to marriage, to pray for their future spouse. Like I say, like every day in my prayers for my kids, I say, like, if they are called to marriage, please bless their future spouse and bless them and help them to like to be somebody who wants to strive for sainthood, because that's what I want for my kids.
Yeah, good.
So anyway, we'll let it go and talk to you hopefully next week. Things are going to get kind of crazy here with the school year starting, but I'm hoping we can get into a groove of at least
once in a while.
Yeah, at least posting semi-regularly. So, all right. Bye, everyone.
Sayonara.